At 7 p.m., I'd like to call this Monday, March 10th, 2014 regular meeting of the City Commission to order. And would everyone please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. City Clerk, could you please call the roll of the Commission?
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Kimbenzi?
Here.
Commissioner Campana?
Here.
Commissioner Coyne?
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
Commissioner Ryan?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
Here.
And Mayor Nemi.
Here. Thank you. All commissioners are present. Note of agenda changes. Are there any agenda changes to be undertaken? Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
I would like to add an update by the Lundin Subcommittee.
Okay. We'll put that as a under presentation as 1A after the Presque Isle sign presentation. Is there a second for that? Assuming there's Commissioner Coyne, thank you. Okay, any other agenda changes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Commissioner Kimbenzi?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Reynolds?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Kimbenzi, seconded by Commissioner Reynolds to approve the agenda. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no. The motion passes unanimously. The agenda is approved with the change. Announcements. I have a couple announcements. I have the usual litany of boards and committees. I won't read them all. Again, they're on our website. You call the city manager, city clerk's office. Anyone can tell you what openings there are. There are 23. It's 3 less than last time. And tonight we'll be appointing a couple, so we'll make a little progress on it. But we do need citizens to step up for our boards and committees. Another announcement I have is that City Marquette nominating petitions are available. The city clerk's office is accepting nominations for city elective offices, which will be filled this year. There will be 3 vacancies on the Marquette City Commission and 2 vacancies on the Board of Light and Power. Packets containing nominating petitions, the required certificates, and information sheets are available in the city clerk's office here at City Hall, 300 West Baraga. The deadline for filing a nomination petition is 4 p.m. on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2014. And if there are enough people running for these seats, there would be a primary. And if there aren't more than the number of seats plus 1, I believe, we won't have a primary. So anyone who's interested in the election to the City Commission or the Board of Light and Power, if you see the City Clerk's office, they can give you the nomination petitions, and they're very helpful. They'll run you through whatever needs to be done to file an appropriate petition. That's all the announcements I have. The first item on the agenda is a presentation on the Presque Isle Sign Project by April Lindela, Director of Northern Michigan University Center for Native American Studies, along with Christine Granger, artist and educator, and Sherry Lunsfoot, the artist of the Presque Isle sign. Ladies, would you please go to the ceremonial podium and just watch out for the drips. Don't go too far in front.
Yes, for those at home watching, they don't know how beautiful, it's beautifully sunny outside, but it's raining inside. So, thank you, Bonjour, Miigwech. Thank you for having us here this evening as part of the agenda. I know for many people of our community, the Presque Isle Sign Project has been a couple of years in the waiting, and we are very excited. Last September 30th, there was a ceremonial dedication of the new Presque Isle Sign Park that was painted and created by Sherry Lunsfoot here. And along with that, creation of that was a project for tribal youth in the area in which they worked collaboratively with Christine Granger and put together and produced photographs. They learned all the different steps of using 35 millimeter and working in the darkroom. And from that result is a book. And this is a book that shares a bit of history of Presque Isle Park, and as well as a background of the project and this collaboration that we also have with the Keweenaw Indian community. And so we're very excited to know that after some dialogue with Marquette City staff members who were wanting to make sure of what we are as a shared community here in Marquette, that Native peoples had a voice in the creation and implementation of this project. And so we want to allow our commissioners to take a gander at books. We have 3 copies that we want to let them kind of leaf through. I'm going to also share the microphone with these colleagues of mine to explain a little bit about their role with the association of this project.
I am the painter, Sherry Lunsford-Aldred. I got to work at Presque Isle with the children while I was painting during the project. It was a fabulous experience. The kids were extremely excited and motivated to get out and move around and learn about the process, and they did an incredible job capturing moments, the area, everything about the process. It was a pretty exciting time. Most of the kids, I think, picked up things really fast. I was really impressed by the quality of the pictures that they captured and how they looked at things differently than a traditional point of view, you know, like what you would normally catch with family photographs or things like that. They really took to it quickly. It was a really fun project, and I feel very honored that I got to be included in it and painting the sign. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for allowing me the process.
Hello, my name is Christine Granger, and I'm also very honored to be a part of this project. I implemented a creative photography program with the students, utilizing my community darkroom. So I taught the students how to use analog 35 millimeter film-based cameras. So they learned the process of taking the photographs as well as processing the film and printing it. In the book, there are both black and white and color, and it was all film-based photographs. I then digitized those and put them into a blurb book. So if you're interested in purchasing a copy of this book, it is on blurb.com, and it's under the title of the program, which is Mikwin Dagozi, which is to be remembered. And that was a really important component of this program, like April had said, was to bring the community together and to bring the history of that together. And very proud of the students. And what they did was there was Anishinaabe language classes, the photography classes, and then documenting the painting by Sherry. So it was a really great project, a full circle project for the students. So very thankful to the tribe, to Center for Native American Studies, and for Sherry for this project, and the city of Marquette. Thank you.
One of the things that I've been asked to also comment on, as the director for the Center for Native American Studies, I've also kind of served as the bridge to open the dialogue with the Keweenaw Indian community. I do have a request in to present this information, this project update to them as well. Hopefully that'll take place in early April at their tribal council meeting. But we do want to have a dialogue about where the painting itself might be able to stay, and we hope that that can be a shared relationship, that it might stay here within the walls of City Hall for some time, and maybe in the halls of the tribal council building up in Baraga. And so we're in the process of working on opening that dialogue with council members. So we look forward to having another update about where the painting might live in the future. Of course, we wouldn't mind having it at an NMU either. So I guess for that, I would like to once again say Chimigwech. Great thank you to all of the parties involved and for being allowed to work in this capacity to bring creative means to our youth, and what I think is a really excellent example and model for collaborative effort among multiple tribal and city municipalities and our educational area at NMU. So, miigwech.
Are there any? Andrew?
Thank you, Your Honor. I only would ask maybe if April could step forward. I'm sure other members of the community might like to know where they can find the book and if there are any special plans for, if there are any proceeds from the book, what we might be doing with
Yes. Great question for me. I guess I would say that we could certainly make the link available on our website at the Center for Native American Studies, which is easy to remember. I think it is anyway. nmu.edu/Native Americans, all one word. And so we'll provide the link to blurb.com where the book is located. Obviously, it would be challenging for everyone to remember the word Bikwandagwazi. So the other thing I think I want to say, too, is that for those who haven't been able to go to the island yet to see the sign itself is in the maroon parameter of the painting that's here. Which I'm a little nervous to bring near the water right now. But the painting is here. Outside of that painting, you'll see a lot of representation of birch, which our elders have said that prior to contact, the land here was so white. It was white with birch like it was snow all the time. And so birch was a huge, huge, huge influence on Anishinaabe people. Oh, good, they have a camera on that. And then there's also a Anishinaabe floral design at the bottom that's incorporated. Because this is an art-centric project, the proceeds for the book are going to be saved into a fund that will be used towards future art projects for tribal youth. And so that is one thing that we felt strongly about. So if folks choose to purchase a copy of the book, know that the proceeds are going back to return the gift for future budding artists and that would be interested in other types of projects similar to this one. Do you have any other questions?
Commissioner Coyne?
I have a question and a comment.
Well, I think that's part of the conversation between the city of Marquette and the tribe, because both parties contributed to the creation of it. And so I think that's one reason we want to have a dialogue about who is the owner.
Sorry. In follow-up to that, I just would comment my experience with this whole process. It's taught me, I think, a lesson in terms of the culture which I come from, to respect another's culture, particularly when we were looking to have this redone by a non-Indigenous person. And we got a lesson that that's not very respectful of the values of that culture. So I think the fact that it's a great painting, Sherry, it really is, and it's a great project to involve the youth and, frankly, the city with the tribe. So I think that I certainly hope that a very positive relationship can continue, and the fact of sharing the painting kind of binds the two communities together. So I think that's important rather than fighting over ownership. I think it would be much better to jointly have it. So again,
Absolutely.
thank you. It's a great project for our community as well as yours.
And I think you articulated that very nicely, that I think it would be best to view it in that way of a shared collaboration, shared ownership in that way. I guess the other thing I would want to say for those who may not know was there were conversations about authenticity and cultural appropriateness in relation to this project, and I think we hope that's what our role is with the Center for Native American Studies, is serve as those kind of educational ambassadors to what our neighbors, the Anishinaabe, have to offer as far as that goes, and hopefully we did okay with that. So Any other comments or questions?
Questions? Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming and giving the presentation. Certainly, we're proud of the sign, and the thing I like about it is it's going to last forever because we have it digitally, as the actual sign out of Presque Isle degrades because of the elements, or if there's a unfortunate accident or something that destroys it, we can always recreate it, and so this sign will go on forever as long as the digital copy lasts, and hopefully our IT department can make sure that we're able to preserve that. So again, we thank you. And
Thank you. Yes, that was no pressure to Sherry on getting it right, though.
and I
No,
think you can,
we're grateful for that as well.
I think you can coordinate with the city manager, and I'm sure an arrangement can be made where we can display the picture, the tribal council in Marigot can display the picture, and the Native Center at NMU certainly can display the picture. I don't know why I can't move around and get viewed by all venues.
Miigwech, thank you. All right, thanks very much.
The next item on the agenda is a presentation by our subcommittee. Subcommittee consists of Commissioner Coyne, Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse, and Commissioner Cambenzi. And I understand Commissioner Cambenzi is going to give us a brief report on the subcommittee. Thank you.
Okay. And I just want to remind everyone that this is a subcommittee consisting of Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse, myself, and also Commissioner Coyne. And we're at a point where we've been working with interlocal groups and certainly Lundin to come up with the best possible solution for our current truck routes, with the mining hauling through the city, as well as a long-term solution for our regional truck traffic. So I'm going to go through some bullet points. Our subcommittee tasks. We were tasked with working with the Lundin Mining Company to come up with an agreement to use the city roads to haul their product until the completion of a bypass route through Marquette Township. We're also tasked to participate in the interlocal study group, which includes representatives from Marquette Township, Negaunee Township, Powell Township, Marquette County, the Marquette County Road Commission, Lundin, Longyear, Lindbergh and Sons, Oberstar, and other ad hoc industry representatives. We also were tasked to support the white paper interlocal agreement of this study group. This is a white paper in which the jurisdictions listed supported the need for a bypass, as well as the outlined costs for existing routes that go through the city, as well as the new bypass route. And the fourth task we had was to continue to meet with State Representative Kivala, Senator Casperson, and representatives from the governor's office on the outlook of state of Michigan funding to help us get this bypass road built. Last week, Representative Kivala met with Mayor Nemi and other city officials, as well as senior administrators at the city, to seek funding for a bypass. And it was reported to us that Senator Casperson has included the request for the bypass in the Transportation Supplement Appropriation Bill. So that's good news. The second thing I just wanted to touch on was the Lundin Mining Company negotiations. The subcommittee has been meeting with Lundin for several months, almost weekly, if not bi-weekly, to reach an agreement to use the city roads until a bypass is built. It's important to note that Lundin has been very supportive. Negotiations are going very well with them, and I think that there's a huge learning curve on both of our ends, not only with how our city roads are funded versus county roads, but the expectations and the needs that they have as well. Again, the discussions remain positive, with the subcommittee believing there's a good chance that after our meeting tomorrow, we can reach a consensus on a tentative road use agreement through the city for the interim and bring a recommendation back to the full commission to take action on. To touch on the interlocal study group, our subcommittee members remain committed to attend all meetings and contribute to the problem-solving responsibilities of the interlocal group. The subcommittee members have asked surrounding jurisdictions for their understanding and patience to complete negotiations with Lundin and bring forth an agreement to the full city commission for temporary road use throughout the city until a bypass is built. For reference, the Marquette County Road Commission completed negotiations with both Rio Tinto and Lundin for the $44 million improvements to County Road 510 and 550, and this was funding borne solely from the Eagle Mine companies and no other state, township, or private business trucking entity dollars. Through Lundin and Eagle Mine's report that they put out on their economic study, they've reported that Michigami and Humboldt townships expect to receive over $40 million in severance taxes. The state of Michigan will receive $20 million in severance taxes from the mine that go towards a rural development fund. The state of Michigan will also receive royalties from the mine. And Eagle Mine has estimated these royalties may top out at over $200 million for the life of their mine. The city of Marquette receives no severance taxes and has received no payments from Eagle Mine to use the city roads. The subcommittee members share the common goal with Marquette Township and the rest of the interlocal study group to relieve congestion of the Wright Street US 41 corridor intersection for the safety, health, and welfare of our greater Marquette community. It's important to note our financial situation with the city as our subcommittee meets, and these are all things that we've taken into consideration. Unlike townships or the county, city taxpayers carry just about the full cost burden for street repair and maintenance. Although the city does receive some funding under Act 51 for maintenance, such as snow removal and public safety, over 80% of our street budget, approximately $8 million a year, including all new bond debt and payments, are accounted for via the city general fund and city taxpayers. The city does not have a financial plan, a financial resource to build or subsidize a haul route through the city that is located entirely in our jurisdiction for the haul route that they want, nor outside of the city limits unless we decrease city taxpayer residential road improvements. Our city taxpayers that pay taxes expect their roads to be done, and I would assume that they would expect them to be done before we go and redo a haul route in which we receive no taxes from. Should the city go ahead and put the haul route funding and redo the road ahead of our own taxpayers, city programs and city services such as police and fire protection would be hurt greatly by this. Should the city choose to spend its taxpayer dollars for road construction and maintenance of city roads that are used as haul routes for industry, our quality of life that we know would be devastated. While we appreciate the economic development that all industry brings to our region, the city taxpayers cannot afford to bear the cost of the daily use of our roads without contributing financially to the maintenance of them. None of the proposed haul road users pay city taxes, and we are working with surrounding jurisdictions to find a solution. On a final note, the city is currently facing substantial unknown financial impacts associated with our tax base. A few of these are tax tribunals involving Marquette Township and Duke Life Point, greatly reduced revenue sharing from the state of Michigan as a result of the changes to Michigan tax law, and great uncertainty with its two largest taxpayers, the Presque Isle Power Plant and Marquette General Hospital. The city is also currently facing $500,000 plus of unanticipated financial impact associated with the bailout or the current weather emergency situation. We're dealing with it right now as our ceiling is leaking, and anyone that took 4th Street on their way to the meeting tonight will notice that the right-hand shoulder is washed out so bad that who knows what's underneath it. As the spring melt hits, all of our roads will show the wear and tear. In a very real sense, the issue we are facing and the issue that all jurisdictions are facing across the state of Michigan comes down to money and what it costs to repair and maintain our roads. Despite the fact that the city will receive no money from royalties and severance taxes from the mine, that the city has not received any funding yet for our intersections in our jurisdiction that includes NMU, most of our public schools, and students. We are happy that our neighboring jurisdictions have received funding, that our county has received funding, that the state of Michigan will receive funding and taxes from the mine. With that said, I'd like to leave on a positive note the impression that our subcommittee remains fully committed to the bypass, the short-term and long-term funding numbers that all local jurisdictions have identified and also agreed to in the regional white paper last fall, so that together we can arrive at a regional solution that will benefit our city taxpayers and our neighboring jurisdictions at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kambezi. Do either of the other two subcommittee members have any comments to make? Or?
I don't. I think Commissioner Kembenzi expressed my opinions and summarized the work that we've been doing. It's been a lot of work, a lot of time, and I hope it indicates that we are really trying our very best to look out for the people that we represent and not put them in a big financial box. Thank you very much, Commissioner Kembenzi.
Thank you, Commissioner Coyne, and I would echo those comments. I think it was a very good, succinct report. Thank you very much, Commissioner Kambezi. Thank you to the subcommittee for your work on our behalf. The next item on our agenda, got two drips now, is recognition outgoing members and welcoming new members. It happens to be the same members, so in one fell swoop, we'll usher them out and welcome them back in. Jim Clark, would you meet me at the podium, please? I think we're safe here. Oh. Yeah, I guess that's all the goodies we have for you. Okay. We have a certificate of appreciation for your service on the Downtown Development Authority. Okay. Your contribution there has been well received, and we certainly appreciate the time you've put into that. And we welcome you to the Board Review, and you can wear your shirt proudly during Board Review sessions and your pin.
Okay. I'll just set that down.
Yep.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything you'd like to say? Any comments?
I'd just like to say I'd like to thank the City Commission and their support of the Downtown Development Authority. In the 20-plus years that I've served on and off that board, we've made downtown a viable place for many businesses and activities for our community, and it's now a destination location. So I think downtown is a proud place to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And again, let us extend our appreciation for your service and welcome you for further service.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is an appointment. We have two appointments. Jesse Roston to the Aging Services Advisory Committee as the housing representative, and Jack Frost to the Downtown Development Authority for a term ending January 1, 2017. Roston's term would be ending August 1st, 2017. Commissioners, what is your pleasure regarding this item? Commissioner Ryan?
I would move we appoint Jesse Roston to the Aging Services Advisory Committee for a term ending August 1st, 2017, and Jack Frost to the DDA for a term ending January 1st, 2017.
Thank you. Is there a second for that motion? Commissioner Coyne? Thank you. Commissioner Ryan, any further comment?
Now, again, pleased to have these people step forward and take on these assignments.
Thank you. Commissioner Coyne?
No, nothing further.
Okay. Any other commissioners have comments? Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Ryan, seconded by Commissioner Coyne to appoint Jesse Ross and Jack Frost to the Aging Service Committee and Downtown Development Authority, respectively, for terms ending August 1st, 2017 and January 1st, 2017 respectively. All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed say no. The motion is passed unanimously. Now we've come to the section of the agenda is public comment. Comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and physical address when making public comments, please. Come to the center podium.
Hi, I'm Patty Stevens, and I'm representing the American Legion Post 44 and its auxiliary Unit 44, address of 700 West Bluff Street here in Marquette. I'm before you this evening because I just came from a meeting at the Post of the Executive Board, and we work on these programs that are Girls State and Boys State. And for those of you who do not know what Girls and Boys State are, they are programs where youth from our community participate downstate in a mock government setup where they learn how the government in the state of Michigan works from the highest levels down to the cities, the counties, the cities, townships, etc. And they administer this program with elections with a two-party system. And of course, it involves the legislative branch where there's judges. And our students from the community here get to participate in this. And within the program, all Upper Peninsula students do get a trip over to the state capitol and in past sessions have been able to meet our governor. That's quite a rarity for students in our community. And when we are looking for future representatives to participate and be members of our city commissions, our township boards, running for representative or senator, this is an experience of a lifetime. It can only occur between the junior and senior years. Our organization sends a minimum of 2 boys and 2 girls each year. And some years we've sent far more than that. But the reason that I'm not quite sure what the process is with the fact that we are applying for some grants to assist us in this endeavor in sending more students from our area, that one of the requirements on the grant is that we be a 501c3 organization, and our organizations are 501c19. And my understanding of the difference is that we are a nonprofit organization. However, because we operate a club, we pay sales tax. But nonetheless, we don't meet the requirement of being a 501c3. And we are required to have a fiscal agent. So I'm not quite certain and hoping maybe later in your meeting tonight, you could possibly consider this as an agenda item, I don't know, or at your next meeting, because we are going to need that. The deadline for the grant applications is the end of the month. So anyways, with that, if there are any questions about the program, I'd be happy to answer them afterwards or whenever the time would be right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the commission? Your name and address, and also I
Jennifer,
neglected.
can you
Excuse
hear
me,
me?
Jennifer. If you, 1 second, I neglected to mention that if someone wants to speak on an agenda item, they should indicate the interest now to speak on whatever item they want to speak on directly when that item comes up. But you may speak. Sorry for interrupting you.
So you'd like me to tell you what I'm going to speak about after I tell you?
No.
You can speak now, or you can
Okay.
speak later
Yes,
on
you
an
can
item.
speak now or later at an item. It's just that anyone who wants to speak on an actual item on the agenda, other than at citizen comment, can reserve the time at this point.
Gotcha. I'm going to do it now, just simply because
Sure. That's fine.
time permitting, I'm going to sneak out of here. My name is Jennifer Ray. I live at 431 East Ridge. I'm here to speak in connection with the rowing club and for their boathouse, their request to add that to our beautiful lakefront and our water usage down here. I have rowed with the rowing club for 3 years. I did. Past 2 years, no. all three of my children have rowed with the rowing club. And there are a number of reasons, personal as well as a community member, why I think this is something that will enhance our community. One, I think from a business perspective and a community perspective, it enhances where we live. It's a very outdoorsy place. The water is incredible. To be on that lake and see sailboats, little and small, with the sailing club now, and rowing boats, is amazing. It only adds to our entire community. On a personal note, I have two children now, one a junior and one a freshman, both at the University of Michigan, and both who are rowing. And that probably would not have happened had they not rowed here. And what that has done for them on a personal level is incredible. I also know a number of other children that are, I think, now at Michigan State and at Tech rowing, that have rowed here as well. Just side notes, my daughter was planning on trying out next year, her sophomore year, but they kind of lured her knowing she had rowed previously. So 2 weeks ago, prior to spring break, they got her to join the team and go train with them over spring break. So that would not have happened had she not previously been able to row with this community group. Our son, he has aspirations to possibly go to nationals. So the beginning of all that was here on Lake Superior. I can't, sort of emphasize the value of this more than on a personal level in that capacity. My children have used it. They're taking it with them on their lifelong journey. Me personally, it's an incredible group of people. You meet people that you would never have had your life cross, even in a small town. So it's, on multiple levels, an enhancement to this town. So I'm just kind of giving my recommendation and saying that I would love to see this happen, and whatever that may endeavor or take. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
My name's Mike Conley, and I live at 500 East Ridge Street in Marquette. I come to you not as a member of the Community Rowing Club, but I am a rower, I'm a canoeist, and a kayaker. I'd like to point out that we have 15 miles of shoreline, but we don't have a safe and accessible launching point for hand-powered craft. I know there's some concerns with the proposal at hand, but I think we should take a look at these concerns and turn them around and look at them as challenges, because we really don't have any other alternatives. This is the safest and the most ideal point in order to launch craft. Presque Isle Marina, in that area, you get out past the break wall, it's really not safe in a canoe or kayak on most days, and certainly not in a rowing shell. So I would encourage you to move forward with this proposal, and let's deal with the problems. There are some concerns, but I think we can deal with those. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Anyone else?
Hi, Diane Betts, Associate Director of the Women's Center, 1310 South Front Street, Marquette. This is in regards to the KBIC funding for the Women's Center. I guess that's all I need to say. All right, this is about the Harbor House and keeping the doors opened and keeping our lights on for survivors of domestic and sexual violence. Thank you.
Thank you.
From the back. Sarah Pura, Executive Director of Superior Alliance for Independent Living, nonprofit organization for people with disabilities. I live at 441 Blemhuber in Marquette. I'm also here to represent the rowing club. They came and showed me some preliminary plans of the boathouse to be more accessible, and I'm very interested and excited to continue to be part of that input on making sure that area is universally designed and accessible for all people to utilize it. Since we do an adaptive kayaking program in the summer, I'm very excited to hopefully use that boathouse someday for our participants also. So just want to put our letter of support, or my letter of support for them too. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Pura.
Kelly Drake Woodward. I'm the president of the Community Rowing Club, and just want to reserve time for 6 members to speak on agenda item 6.
From, oh, okay, yes,
My address is 951 Highland Drive, Marquette.
thank you.
Mike Beck, 245 Lincoln. I want to thank the commission and the subcommittee members looking at the truck route through Marquette for the hard work and the diligent efforts addressing this. I urge the city commission and the subcommittee to take some proactive steps at looking at the safety issues that we're going to face. I know that it's a funding and a safety issue that faces the city, and the funding is a very big issue with this truck route coming through the city. But more importantly is the safety that the city is going to have to face and the residents that as the trucks roll through the city, because they're going to come through the city. I don't believe that the city is going to be able to mount a challenge to prevent them from coming through without a viable alternate route. So these trucks are going to run through the city this fall in just a matter of a few months. So if this means that perhaps the city reverses the speed limit increases on Wright Street that were just enacted in the last couple of years, and other ways to address the safety issues that we're going to face, and I hope that the Planning Commission is already taking a look at the members of the city staff have been looking at this, because there's a way to address safety there on Wright Street and Sugarloaf Avenue in the corner. I know that the challenge is funding, but in terms of safety, if you take a look at it, there's a way to fix that. So thank you for the work you've done so far. Look forward to the announcements you make in short order on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. Anyone else?
My name is Maureen Jensen. I live at 769 Lakewood Lane, Marquette. I'm here actually to speak about the rowing club as well. I'm not one of the 6 people on the list for that, so I'll speak now. And I'm just going to speak about the benefits that I gained from it, as well as I feel the community will benefit. I joined the rowing club in 2012, and I only rowed half a season that year because my husband and I moved to Germany for the year. But because I learned to row here for half summer, I was able to also row in Constance on the Bodensee on the Rhine, and they had a boathouse, and it was beautiful. And so because I had rowing experience, they allowed me to just jump in and row with them, and that was really incredible. I joined by invitation from a friend, Simone Vida, because she saw me struggling. I've run 6 marathons in my lifetime. I'm 55, but those days are over, but I did run 6 of them and was trying to get back into a routine. I was having trouble. I found myself going to the doctor a lot more with joints and things hurting, and I just couldn't get going. And she says, well, why don't you come out and row? And my goals initially were very selfish. They were to get on the water, to be on that beautiful lake, and to just move. And then with the hopeful end point of just feeling better, not even being able to run again, just be feeling better. So those goals were accomplished, got that done. But really, what I really gained, and these are not in order of any special priority, but the real gains I feel were, I learned teamwork, which also benefits the community. I learned a lot of empathy, constantly helping each other. We had a lot of fun. I learned a lot about humor and being able to laugh at yourself, catching crabs, falling in the water. It was really, these are the things I didn't think I would gain. Challenging myself, I thought this had to be pretty easy, and it wasn't. I also gained a whole new perspective in lifestyle and body image from this rowing. The biggest thing was the friendship that I gained. I didn't think I was going to make friends. I thought I would just get out there and do those 2 selfish things. Well, last week I needed a surgery, and this club on their own went ahead and all rowed a 14-kilometer. One particular member I just want to show the camaraderie that we have here. It's not just women, it's men too. And this went to me with the hospital, and it's been with me the whole way. And they all rowed, and when they finished, they sent an email and put a heart on a poster. So I guess what I'm saying is that I'm a better human being because of these experiences. And I think that we'll shine brightly for the community. And I think if you invest in our power and our spirit, we're going to really make Marquette shine, not only here, but in other places all over the world. A boathouse is definitely necessary from what I've seen other places that we've lived. So that's That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jensen. Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Berto, 350 East Ridge, Marquette, to speak on item 6. These are my opinions. February 24th, Ryan mentioned a sense of place as though the concept was new, claiming our sense of place started 100 years ago when Presque Isle was preserved. In truth, our sense of place began 10,000 years ago when the ice sheet retreated to form our shoreline. The name Presque Isle in our culture appeared much later. Prior to tonight, I'd mentioned sense of place 3 times, dating back to October 2001. In fact, last October 28th, I stated, keep Ryan and Coyne out of the mayoral seat to prevent the demise of the natural spaces that define our sense of place. Then on February 24th, the very man who threatens to compromise our sense of place mentioned the concept, which reminds me to ask him again which few places he had on mind July 29th that are better than Marquette so I can move there. It would serve us all well to know. February 24th, Stonehouse recognized Sugarloaf's sense of place, yet he's oblivious to Heartwood. Compensi used the fact that we pay $500,000 per year on Heartwood as justification to compromise on its preservation. She ignored accusations that your committee was loaded by saying it had broad representation. Then she accused me of wanting all preservation. Sure, I'd like it all preserved, but it's always been understood from the point of purchase that the city planned to develop 357 acres. 400 to 600 acres was also discussed. Of course, subtract the 100 acres that you already sold, 70 of which aren't even needed over the foreseeable life of the landfill. You see, I never expected total preservation. Compensi grossly misspoke by saying the vast majority of Heartwood is being preserved. Of the 2,243 acres, your loaded committee recommended developing 930 plus 251 deferred development, or 53%. The remaining 47% is hardly a vast majority. If you learn how urban growth increases the demands on nearby natural areas, you'd realize what's at stake. You'd then acquire vision and stop compromising on compromises. Compensi has seemingly forgotten the days of her mistreatment by the commission when she protested the insanity of the Blaker Tower. As the months regress, she acts more and more bought into the commission's bag of dope. Speaking of which, 3 residents asked you nicely to put decriminalization of weed on the agenda. Where is it? You have a light agenda tonight. You're apparently content throwing people in jail, often for doing nothing wrong, while you sit idle, acting however you please. For example, loading your ad hoc group and your cowardly theft of closing comment. Things far more sinful. So why not throw you in jail? More bothersome than the way you treat me is how you ignore others. It's high time you get on the stick, if not for my causes, for others. And please do so without ruining our green space.
Mr. Berto?
Margaret Cazzola, 236 Rock Street. Reserve the right for item 6, please.
Bob Kimbenzi, 306 North 6th Street, and maybe I'll make a statement first. I guess I was one of the people on that loaded committee, which, boy, oh boy, was that ever a terrible load, eh? Anyhow, on item 6, and I'll just say a few words right now, I'm all for a nice launch site for kayaks, canoes, and the rowing club boats. My questions are, when you look at licensing the site, are you looking really at licensing the boathouse footprint or the entire site to the rowing club? The concern there is just that the entire site, perhaps with the exception of the boathouse, be for public use, and that everybody will be able to use the launch site, etc. You know, we went through, as far as people with canoes and kayaks, we went through the loss of the tourist park due to some fantastic ideas by the federal government that something that worked for 80 to 90 years up there at Silver Lake Basin wasn't good enough, and they decided to order some construction up there, which almost immediately blew out, and we lost the tourist park for 9 years. The other launch site that was not too bad was the little beach down where the Coast Guard then made a swap with the city, so we lost a little beach alongside of the breakwall. So it certainly would be nice to have a nice launch site for the non-motorized boaters. I do also have a concern down there, though, about the parking. Really, it isn't very adequate. I mean, if the rowing club is down there one night, I'm sure they'll use probably all the parking spaces unless they walk to the, to the site. It's kind of far off from any parking area of any size at all. So those are my concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Kimbenzi. Any other citizens wishing to address the commission? Hearing none, we'll close this portion of the agenda, and we will move on to the consent agenda. We've got a whole laundry list of consent items. Commissioners, one minor correction on consent items. We have a public hearing that we're scheduling. It would be on the consent agenda for, it'd be 5K, and it's to schedule a public hearing for ordinance 614, an ordinance to amend the city code, chapter 4, section 4, and that should read 2-1, and also 2 parentheses A and B, that I believe it amends the alcohol portion of the city code to allow for sidewalk cafe permits. So that is one minor correction on the printed agenda. Commissioner Coyne?
I move we approve the consent agenda with the changes that you just read.
Is there a second? Commissioner Campana?
Second.
Okay. Anything further, Commissioner Coyne?
Oh.
Anything further, Commissioner Campana?
Nothing.
Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Coyne, seconded by Commissioner Campana to approve the consent agenda as printed with the minor correction. All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed say no. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is new business. The Upper Peninsula Rowing Club request to construct a boathouse on city property at Founders Landing and convey ownership to the city. City Clerk, would you read the background? City Manager?
Your Honor, I reached out to the commission earlier this year and to the city attorney, and because my beautiful bride is a member of the executive committee of UPCRC, I think you heard earlier, I'd like to avoid any appearance of any impropriety or bias, and so I've recused myself from this effort. I've turned over responsibility to our previous acting city manager, Mike Angeli, and our director of community development. And so at this point, I'd like to be excused, and I'll ask Chief Angeli to come get me when deliberation on this topic is finished.
Okay, City Manager, you may be excused, and I can attest to my conversations have been with the chief on this item. You have accused yourself on consideration up to this point, and we'll continue to for our final action. So, Chief, if you would take over for him as needed. Okay. Mr. Campana.
I too would like to ask the city attorney's opinion. My wife is Sally Davis, and she's a vice president and a member of the rowing club. My concern is, will there be a problem if I enter into this discussion and vote on this agenda item? Yes, no?
I don't see a conflict. I think we've talked about this before. You don't have a financial interest, direct or indirect. The fact that your wife may be associated with this group, even on the executive committee, doesn't, in my view, create any kind of conflict of interest in you voting on this item.
Thank you.
My understanding, City Attorney, that the charter requires us all to vote on every item, and we can only recuse ourselves if we have a financial conflict.
That is correct.
Thank you. Anything else before City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. Background. The Upper Peninsula Rowing Club, UPRC, gave a concept presentation to the Harbor Advisory Committee, HAC, on May 21, 2013, and requested support from the HAC for moving forward with the planning of a community boathouse. The HAC, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and Planning Commission considered the request and passed motions. The potential fiscal uncertainty with regard to the possible closing of the Presque Isle Power Plant and relocation of Marquette General Hospital have led to careful scrutiny by staff regarding any additional acquisition of public assets that present any legacy cost to the city of Marquette. Under the scenario being recommended by the Planning Commission, the city would be taking a risk of assuming legacy costs for operation and maintenance, in addition to creating funding challenges for existing facilities that have already been prioritized. Matson Park, Presque Isle, Tourist Park, and Coppin Sports Complex for Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund grants. More recently, the City Commission considered similar challenges with regard to the establishment of a trailhead structure for the Nokemenon Trail Network and supported the staff recommendation to permit the use of the property via a license, thus allowing the location. However, not putting the city in a position of being liable for any legacy costs should the terms of any agreement fail to be realized. Given the similar challenges and nature of this request, including challenges related to defining public purpose, staff recommends the same license structure be utilized here. Fiscal effect: under Scenario 1, the UPRC expects to assume all expenses and labor for operation and maintenance of the facility. However, no financial model or detail is provided other than for initial cost. Regardless of models or detail, ownership of any structure ultimately puts the city in the position of assuming responsibility for all long-term maintenance costs and if the terms of any agreement cannot be met. The ownership and maintenance has been projected as a range between $12,000 and $24,000 for annual building maintenance, with additional building capital costs over time as the structure depreciates. In addition, installation of water and sanitary service would require removal and replacement of the bike path and Lakeshore Boulevard, and the sanitary effluent would need to be pumped to a forced main. This initial infrastructure cost is estimated to be approximately $35,000. These costs would need to be programmed into the capital improvements plan as well as capital outlay, currently capped at $4 million for all projects and general fund budgets. Local match for Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund grants is 25% of projected costs. If permitted under Scenario 2 via a license, there is no potential legacy cost to the city. Recommendation: permit the structure via a license to use city property subject to the Upper Peninsula Rowing Club obtaining any necessary permits and approvals, with ownership of the structure as well as all costs to be retained by the UPRC. Waive the license fee and direct the city attorney to prepare the license. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. I might point out the noise you hear is our crew up on the roof trying to staunch the leaks, so don't despair, it's not the roof falling in. I'm confident in our crew. Commissioners, we have a couple citizens who wanted to address this first. Mr. Verito? Well, we'll take you right now.
Sounds kind of strategic to me. That it sounded strategic. Frank Jeff Verito, 350 East Ridge, Marquette. These are my opinions, and I agree with all of the advocates who have spoken thus far. Prior to our August 12th meeting, 2 rowers told me that they wanted the boathouse at their current site, 1,000 feet north of the proposed site, but were asked to consider the wooded location, something to do with nearby townhouses. City officials knew nothing of this preference. One said the rowers keep changing their minds. When asked on August 13th about building at the current site, the rowers' vice chair mentioned her concern for the plants. Plants are much easier to move than trees. Her logic made no sense, not when the proposed site is plopped at the worst point of impact from a nature standpoint, not when the current, better suited spot lies so close. The vice chair told me to keep an open mind and to await the drawings. How much of an open mind did it take to wait for this? Like I told you, August 26th, any suitable plan there would exceed the marvels of engineering. Look at the drawing. The impact is far greater than what they conceived last July 8th. The building is wider, with full frontage facing the lake. There's additional clearing for outside boat storage and a large clearing to the east for transporting boats. There's even landscaping to the south on space they don't need. This is the classic case of being given an inch last July and now going for the extra mile. Last Saturday, the rowers chose not to comment. One of them admitted not knowing why the current location wasn't further considered. Better minds than hers determine that, she said, referring to the architect. So an architect is determining the fate of our lakefront. Architects don't choose the location, not on our public property. The documentation in your packet boasts that this location fits the master plan in 7 conditions, which are protected water, carry distance, terrain and slope, straight rowing distance, channel width, proximity to other human-powered uses, proximity to population density, and support by city and regional tourism. No one else will tell you that the current location fits all the same criterion, even better, as well as the master plan. Also, their sites considered included only Presque Isle Marina, Tourist Park, Teal Lake, and Flounders. Any consideration of the current site is absent from your documents, with the exception of Mr. Laurie on the February 18th planning minutes. He's quoted saying that he realized the UPCRC was steered to the location by other city boards and city administration, and that it is a concern of his that the issue was handled in such a fashion before it came to the Planning Commission. This suggests that the official lied by telling me the city knew nothing of the site preference. Lowry further stated the proposal is part of the master plan and the lower harbor plans, but that he did not believe it was intended for the proposed location. He warned the city is losing out on the structure not being located farther to the north, yet he still voted for the south location. Commissioner Moran is quoted saying he's opposed to the site. He wants to see preservation of the beach area east of the bike path and that it be kept in its natural state. He also claimed it stated in the master plan that the area be preserved in its natural state and that development be done west of the bike path, end of quotes. Many thanks to Misters Laurie and Moran for their information. However, there's no mention anywhere of the Lakeshore Task Force recommendation to not build east of the North Country Trail right there. This applied not only from the road facing east, but from the lakeshore facing west. We find that only the view from the road eastward was considered, not the view from the beach. This reeks of politics because no one will explain why the boathouse can't be built 1,000 feet north. The rowers have no incentive to leave their current site at the safer, equally accessible north location, affording better access to infrastructure without sacrificing prime scenery. Floating docks are also better suited to the north site. For the chairperson to claim this proposal is in harmony with the environment is ludicrous. This is the needless destruction of a woodland whose environs you've already needlessly compromised 3 separate times. We hereby document the latest example of well-meaning entities so focused on the task at hand, they lose sight of the total picture. Our commissions are likewise so eager to please certain appellants based upon who's who that they're unwilling to consider opposing viewpoints, namely your consideration of the North Flounders location. Let the boaters enjoy the full benefit of a boathouse without destroying the natural ambiance that barely survives to the south of Gaines Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Verito. Mr. Cambenzi? Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. You don't have anything further? Okay. The rowing club, Ms. Woodward, would you like to start? And
Okay, thank you. Kelly Drake Woodward again. I'm here to describe our vision for a community boathouse and also talk about how this vision fits with the City of Marquette's wishes for the waterfront. Others of our members are here to talk to you about various aspects of our organization. This is so you can have better knowledge and trust of us as community partners. But I do want to say that while most organizations struggle to get people to step up and lead and do the tasks that are needed, we have no lack of multitudes of people that are professional, capable, responsible, and also willing to help out in anything we need to do. And I think this is reflected in the continual growth of our club and our programs over the years. So we didn't start this journey thinking we were going to build a landmark here in Marquette necessarily. But we also don't want to build something that future generations would consider to be a disposable building. Hopefully you know by now that we want to build a community boathouse that will be home for the NMU rowing team, also the community rowing club, and will also accommodate boat storage for other non-motorized watercraft users. We also want to erect a handicapped accessible launch dock, and I will address some concerns later associated with those items. But what we've planned is a high-quality masonry structure with a view of the lake and an intimate relationship with the shoreline and the natural environment. It is similar to the observation deck at Founder's Landing that was approved through a public process. We know that people object to having yet another obstruction of their view of the lake. So we asked the architects to design a structure that nestled into the existing hill. The roof will provide an observation deck and a place for seating adjacent to the bike path. A portion of the building's roof will also serve as a demonstration for a living green roof that will help control water runoff. We now use the space under the current observation deck for a clubhouse, and many times people have said to us they didn't even know there was a building underneath, which just goes to show that we're also a quiet tenant. For 10 years, we've been down on the beach at 5:45 a.m. and all throughout the day, quietly readying ourselves for a launch and peaceful row. Regarding the parking situation, we believe our club is an example of an organization that can help the city to avoid the need for single-purpose reserved parking facilities. For any one row at any one time, there might be 6 to 20 people there. However, we always know exactly how many people are going to be there, exactly who is coming, and exactly what time, because we sign up in advance to row. Some of our members walk or bike to the site. We've also worked in the past arrangements with the Founders Development Group and with the Hampton Inn to share parking for our rows with those people. And we appreciate that very much. But in addition to that, our programs, because of the way they're organized, do allow us to arrange carpooling and use any parking facility virtually in the city, or pick each other up at home. Northern's program is very similar to ours. And so I think that you're not going to see any change in the parking situation than what it is currently and has been for the past 10 years for either one of those clubs as we've been rowing in the community. Some people have expressed security concerns about that quiet stretch of beach, which is currently underutilized space. Jane Jacobs, a writer and keen observer of American cities, said that for a city to be safe, there must be eyes on the street. And to have eyes on the street, you must have places from which to watch and interesting things for people to see. Our proposed community facility will give people reasons to observe, creating eyes on the lake. People can sit up on top and watch the waterfront activities. They can sit on the dock. They can relax on the beach. They can come talk to us as we're getting ready to row. As far as we're concerned, nothing will change on the beach. I don't think we will have control over the beach at all, or the public launch that we're building. We think that the people that are drawn to our site will help increase the innate sense of security in that part of our community and part of our waterfront. Of course, we hope that people will decide to get involved, with our club, and we're pretty good ambassadors in that respect. But again, public beach access will be preserved. The only part, this is all negotiable, but the only part that I know of that we intend to secure is the boat storage where there is, where security is needed. And then the meeting room, which will also be available to project partners, people that need it when they want to use it. So the other item is that we want to help the city to achieve your action items that have been in your official plans for years now. 2003 Harbor Master Plan, the canoe, kayak launch and storage facilities, and then in the 2011 to 2016 Recreation Plan actually shows a rowing club boathouse. So that's what we're trying to do, and to help you satisfy the goals of the master plan to enhance all-season public access and recreation along Lake Superior, promote sport tourism, provide significant use of the lower harbor for recreational boating, and accommodate multiple water user groups, including small and recreational. So that's all out of your master plan. I do want to say thank you to Glenn Van Ness for providing the survey services, and also to Ken Chapsky and Bill Sanders, who have been helping us with site planning and architectural services. We want to thank our many sponsors who have helped us through the years. But in closing, I'd like to say that I can promise you that the UPCRC will be good stewards of the land and the water assets that the city would entrust to us. We ask you to concur with the positive recommendations of the Harbor Advisory Committee, the Park and Rec Advisory Board, and also the Planning Commission to help us provide a center of community for passive water recreation users. Please partner with us so we can continue to offer lifetime fitness opportunities and recreation in a safe and inclusive environment for many, many years to come. And I will be available for questions afterwards if needed.
Thank you, Ms. Woodward. Next. Name and physical address, please.
Hi, my name's Gail Braden, and I live at 3114 Island Beach Road in Marquette. I'm a charter member of the rowing club, and I served as its first president. As you probably know, rowing is the ultimate team sport, from lifting the 300-pound, 60-foot boats up overhead and placing them in the water to rowing them straight and fast across the harbor. And it's this working together as one unit that allows us to achieve together things that we could never achieve alone. The sport naturally fosters a special bond of collaboration and fellowship, and our mantra is, many hands make light work. We know that teamwork and technique will beat brute force every single time. And using this model of teamwork, we have built a club of 90 members. And we have introduced over 300 adults to the sport of rowing since 2004 in our Learn to Row classes. We intend to use this attitude of pulling together to realize our dream of a permanent boathouse for rowing in the city of Marquette. I am confident, as our president just mentioned, that you will find us excellent stewards of the proposed boathouse, just as we have been excellent stewards of the Founders Landing site, which we have rented from the city. The presence of our club in the city of Marquette benefits not only the rowing community, but the community as a whole. We model and teach health and fitness to adults of all ages. In 2010, we had a 14-year-old in our club, and we also had a 74-year-old in our club. And of that, we're very proud. And around the world, there are people in their early 90s who not only row, but continue to compete. And so that means I have 30 years of good rowing left. We also participate in many health fairs at local schools and hospitals. For the past 8 years, we've sponsored a youth program for high school youth. And each year we have 15 to 20 participants. Our scholarship program ensures that no student is ever turned away due to financial need. And as you heard from Jennifer Ray, we also are very proud to say that this year we have 4 graduates of our youth program who are rowing for collegiate programs. And these are big programs. University of Michigan, we have 2. Michigan Tech, we have 1. And Michigan State University, we have 1. And we feel that a future Olympic rower may come from our rowing club here in Marquette. Our club has recently been awarded a grant to provide an indoor rowing program at Bothwell Middle School, and this will provide instruction and a new rowing machine, and that is targeting special needs children in the school. We annually clean up Lakeshore Boulevard and the Rosewood Alley as part of the Marquette Beautification Committee spring cleanup. We also regularly remove noxious weeds from the Founders Landing site, and we patrol the beach for trash and pick that up throughout the summer. Our club members volunteer at the International Food Fest and at Harbor Fest. We also donate free memberships and free Learn to Row classes at silent auctions around town, including the UP 200, the Diabetic Outreach Network, and Hop for Hospice. Finally, we have a positive impact on tourism and on the image of Marquette as a really cool place to live. We have spectators coming up to us all the time, and these are locals as well as people from out of town that tell us that they love to see us out there rowing in the harbor. My feeling is that The sight of our 60-foot boat gliding across the calm harbor at sunset is enough to make anybody want to move here to Marquette. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Braden.
Gerald Davis, 145 Bayou Street in Harvey. I just come with a reminder that really cool boathouses often become not only hubs of activity, but long-standing and defining structures of cool cities. Now, it's true, rowing did originate with the slave galleys in the ancient world, and that does make rowing the only sport that originated with the intent of being capital punishment. But it's evolved from there and became the first intercollegiate sport in America when Harvard and Yale squared off in a regatta in 1852. But the sport of rowing carries with it an ambience and all this tradition that makes its presence and the accompanying boathouses one of the hallmarks of vibrant, cultivated, livable cities. Philadelphia is deservedly noted for Boathouse Row. We aren't going to develop anything quite that extensive. Boston has all of their boathouses on the Charles River. But many cities have developed notable, long-standing rowing programs and architecturally interesting boathouses. Oddly enough, I ran across the fact that the oldest rowing club in America, continuously operating, is the Detroit Boat Club, which this year celebrates its 175th anniversary, being founded 2 years after Michigan became a state. Various cities more recently that have sought to enhance their waterfronts or provide keys to development have incorporated boathouses. The Riverfront Recapture Program in Hartford, Connecticut was a notable example. The new boathouse in Milwaukee about 10 years ago. Most recently, the wonderful $10 million boathouse in Oklahoma City that generated $75 in additional development money in the city for every dollar that was spent on the boathouse. In Marquette, the synergies between the proposed boathouse, the adjacent Iron Ore Heritage Trail — I'm looking forward to riding the Heritage Trail to the boathouse in the morning — and the adjacent Hiawatha Water Trail, along with opportunities to boost and promote other paddle sports, will further enhance Marquette's image as one of outstanding opportunities for healthful and environmentally friendly recreation. As Gail said, those who have watched the club row and grow in the harbor catch sight of those beautiful shells appearing to ghost along. If you're in one, it's not near that easy. But it's a beautiful sight in itself and an enhancement and an attraction for residents and visitors alike. I also want to note that rowing clubs are remarkably durable. I've given the Detroit Boat Club's 175-year example, particularly when they provide a full range of programs for recreational rowers, youth, as well as those who want to compete. Examples around the state range from the Lansing Rowing Club, whose website describes their modest boathouse as nestled along the river in Grand River Park. We hope to be similarly nestled in Marquette. Our nearest rowing colleagues, in case anybody is thinking, could anybody do this far north, include the Bay Verte Rowing Club, i.e. Green Bay, which has been around for 25 years, and the Duluth Rowing Club, which was founded in 1911, though they do acknowledge with time off for 2 world wars. In our brief 10-year history, UPCRC has far surpassed most of the other clubs in Michigan in size and in range of programs, and even Green Bay, which we love to point out to them because they helped us get started. We look forward to working with the city to work out a boathouse agreement and make our boathouse another jewel in the Queen City's crown.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Next.
Tenzie Parsons, 1023 North Front Street. I am former NMU crew coach, which is a volunteer position. I'm a current member of the UPCRC, and I'm also a co-coach for the UPCRC, which is also a volunteer position. And I own a single rowing scull myself, so I like to row out there with the club and by myself too. NMU's crew regrets that they can't be here tonight to represent themselves, but just between returning from their spring break training in Florida and back to school with their work responsibilities and schoolwork responsibilities, they weren't able to have someone here tonight to represent them, so I'm here to speak on their behalf. Northern's Rowing Club is a fantastic opportunity for college students. Besides providing opportunity for rowers to continue their sport while attending NMU and teach students the art of rowing, the club also provides many opportunities for leadership positions on their executive boards, such as team captain, treasurer, secretary, and travel chair, among some other positions. The club emphasizes good sportsmanship. It teaches teamwork, team spirit, and responsibility, and with their Rent-A-Rower program, they conduct that by themselves and go out into the community and rent themselves out for any projects that anyone wants to hire them for. They organize all this themselves. The team also appeals to and provides opportunity to students who might not be interested in traditional team sports. They can join a sports club and participate in competitive regattas and not feel some of the other team pressures that those traditional team sports may make the student feel. NMU's program is now 15 years old. It has had membership as high as 64 students. It has medaled against much bigger schools at major Midwest regattas, including at least twice at Midwest Championships. Currently, NMU's crew rents yard space from the Marquette Yacht Club, and while that agreement is working for their on-season time, to have a boathouse where maintenance can be performed on equipment in a protected and secure and safe environment, to have a boathouse to store unused boats while traveling to regattas instead of having them on their trailer because there's no room in the yard at the yacht club, to have a location to meet and train when the water is too rough to row, a community boathouse will make all this possible. And the sum of these two rowing clubs coming together, NMU and UPCRC, to share resources and give back that to the public will be greater than its parts, I believe. And I know that there might be some concern over vegetation and plants and trees and shrubs for the current proposed location. I have some concerns too, but I believe that that can be worked out. If there's specific species that are in question, we can replant them, move them. I don't think that that is an issue. Vegetation is moved and replanted, regrown all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parsons.
Hi, my name is Deb Jean. I live at 121 Old Saloon Trail in Marquette. I'm a certified rowing coach for the club, as well as a member of the UPCRC board. I'm here to talk tonight about the public purpose of our proposed project on the boathouse. And the first is obviously the most obvious, a center for human-powered watercraft enthusiasts. This would be a place to meet with each other and coordinate activities, including the community and collegiate rowing programs. By sharing the facility, it will foster the relationship forged between Northern Michigan University and the Community Rowing Club, enhancing both programs. The proposed facility will seek to provide a base from which organizations interested in non-motorized recreation can have a safe public access to Lake Superior, away from the bustling areas surrounding the marina and the yacht club. It will provide a place to introduce new enthusiasts to a variety of water recreation opportunities available in our community, such as kayaking, paddleboarding, and of course rowing. Public activities will include learn-to-row classes, dry land training, safety classes, and other public demonstrations. We have sought input from other organizations such as SAIL and other individuals that will benefit from this project, and will continue to do so throughout the approval process. Second purpose, to protect the investment in publicly accessible rowing equipment. The Community Rowing Club has a significant investment in rowing shells, oars, and other equipment. This equipment is accessible for public use by any member that has successfully completed our Learn to Row program, as well as our safety training course that is offered through the club. Without protection, there is a danger that there could be damage to this equipment, which would result in the loss of this opportunity to the community. A third purpose was to be to promote health and fitness. A boathouse would strengthen the ability of the Community Rowing Club to better serve the youth and adults in our community, thereby contributing to healthy lifestyles as well as the enjoyment of the waterfront. Please note that since our inception, our club has worked to include everyone and benefit the community. This is evident in our nonprofit status, our commitment to developing youth programs in our community, and our hours of volunteerism from serving at food festivals, conducting demonstrations at health fairs, and cleaning the beach and roadway adjacent to our launch site. We encourage and welcome all people to participate in rowing in a safe manner. And for those who cannot afford our annual dues, we have a scholarship option. Another purpose would be to enhance public access through the public handicapped accessible dock and storage facilities. Both the dock and the observation deck will have universal public access, enabling people to enjoy the waterfront. Storage facilities will draw visitors from the Hiawatha Water Trail and the Iron Ore Heritage Trail, giving them a place to securely stow their gear and equipment while they enjoy the businesses and attractions of Marquette. Rental space will be available for those who wish to store their own human-powered watercraft in a safe facility near the water, providing an easy gateway to the lake for those who do not live on beachfront property. Another purpose of the proposed boathouse would be to provide a new public space for people to gather and observe waterfront activity. The rooftop observation deck and green space provides a place to gather for picnics or merely to stop in and take in the scenery of the waterfront from that vantage point. And finally, the proposed boathouse would lessen the government's service burden. The Community Rowing Club will relieve the city of the costs of maintaining and operating a facility in the land by taking on this expense and responsibility. This will lighten the burden for taxpayers. The city will benefit from nurturing this partnership, which will improve recreation programs at no expense to the city. And finally, all the above points enhance the city's recreation offerings through this partnership. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Chain.
Hi, my name is Debbie Cook. I'm 701 Lakewood Lane, Marquette. I'm a member of the UPCRC and currently serve on the board. Over the past few months, you've heard a lot about our club and our vision for a community boathouse. A lot of time and effort and thought has gone into our planning for this boathouse in the belief that we can build a long-term, sustainable asset of which not only our club, but the Marquette community as a whole can be proud. I would like to assure you that just as much thought has gone into how we will secure the funding to build, operate, and maintain our envisioned boathouse. The UPCRC is a registered 501c3 organization that currently has we take in currently over $10,000 in annual dues. With the addition of a boathouse, we anticipate that number will increase. We also anticipate rental revenue for boat storage and partner use of the facility. While these sources will help defray the operating expenses once the community boathouse is complete, our primary source of funding for the actual structure will be a capital fundraising campaign. Once the plans for the community boathouse have been finalized with the City of Marquette, our Fund Development Committee will finalize our anticipated funding strategy. Our board, like our membership, is comprised of people from various backgrounds who have a wealth of knowledge and experience in a multitude of areas. The board has pledged 100% financial participation for this community boathouse project, and we believe we will get sizable support also from our membership. Our current board makeup is especially suited to bringing to fruition a project of this type and size. In addition to our club president's planning and municipal background, We have 2 board members who have in excess of 40 years' experience raising funds in the nonprofit arena. Sally Davis's expertise lies in the federal grant area, bringing over $20 million in grant dollars into the UP over the course of her career. Sally is so experienced in the federal grant field that she's often used as a federal grant reviewer. I've spent many years working in child abuse and the nonprofit management sector, while also fundraising, writing grants, and working with private, corporate, and family foundations. I am currently employed in healthcare fundraising, working on behalf of many organizations as diverse as hockey clubs to hospitals. Over the years, Sally and I have raised funds for equipment, programming, operations, infrastructure, and capital campaigns. Our budgeted $600,000 for the community boathouse is certainly a significant amount of money, but we both have a significant experience with fundraising projects this size and larger. In addition to our fundraising experience, Sally and I, along with others on the board, have decades of experience working in a collaborative manner for mutual benefit. This is the rule in an effective nonprofit environment, and this is ultimately how we view the boathouse. We are, as a club, comfortable funding, owning, and maintaining the structure with the implicit understanding that a long-term, meaning 30 years or more, renewable agreement from the City of Marquette that we are stewards of a public asset. Prospective donors require the collaboration and commitment from the involved parties before they will financially support a project. Without a long-term commitment from the City of Marquette, there can be no boathouse. We are acutely aware of the trust that we are asking the City of Marquette to grant our club to see our community boathouse vision come to fruition, just as we are trusting you, the city, to provide us with the long-term legacy-type commitment that we need in order to fundraise to turn our community boathouse vision into a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. Anyone else wishing to address that? I guess that is your 6th. Okay. Okay. Commissioners, do we want to suspend the rules and have some discussion first, or do we want Commissioner Coyne?
I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
That we permit the structure via license to use city property subject to the Upper Peninsula Rowing Club obtaining any necessary permits and approvals with ownership of the structure as well as all costs to be retained by the Upper Peninsula Rowing Club, waive the license fee, direct the city attorney to prepare a license, and to include in that a specified time period of the license, if that's doable, and guaranteed public access.
Thank you, Commissioner Coyne. Is there a second for the motion? Commissioner Stonehouse.
I will second the motion.
Okay. Commissioner Coyne, do you have anything further at this time?
I do. First of all, thank you for your presentation. I personally feel that it probably wasn't needed because we're all, I think, my understanding of people talking, we're pretty supportive of this. I would go back to being, I want to comment on Gail's comments about racing 30 years from now. 30 years ago, you started bugging me about this building and then repeatedly bugged other commissions along the line and got nowhere. And so I really commend all of your perseverance. And just to lighten the load a little bit, I would like to challenge you in 25 years to a race, okay? Hopefully we'll both be here. And maybe some of you folks could help us out, okay? we have come a long, long ways, and those of you who were involved just got stonewalled, and you now have a commission. I think that the fact that this is even on the agenda is great, speaking of your commitment. I think it also speaks, to use an analogy that you said as a group, that rowing is working together, and I think it's an opportunity now for the city to work together with you, and I am very, very supportive of it. I do have some questions. I do not understand, even though I really do understand because I asked the city attorney before the meeting, but I don't understand why this is a license versus a lease, and I would like to ask the city attorney to explain why he is saying license versus lease. Could I do that, Your Honor?
Yes, you may, Commissioner Coyne. City Attorney, would you?
I'll try to answer the question, but I haven't said license versus lease. That's not my agenda item.
Well, let me correct. Would you define what license is and what lease is?
I can do that.
Thank you.
A license is generally a terminable will, interest or possession of a piece of property to do an act, build a boathouse or do something on a piece of property. But it's normally, it's not an interest in land like a lease. A lease is generally for a fixed term. It's usually involves exclusive possession by the lessee, and it usually involves valuable consideration. For an example, this piece of property probably is pretty valuable. A license could or could not involve a valuable consideration, but generally because it's terminable at will, unless there's a way to get around that, then you wouldn't have that, that cost involved, as that recommendation was, in fact, to waive the license fee.
All right, thank you. To continue, we, I believe, just gave 2 licenses, one to the NTN and one to the Solid Waste Authority, correct? Do either of those have time frames commitment with them?
The NTN doesn't, but the one to the solid waste, but that's almost a joint venture when you look at it. We're actually making money on that deal. There's revenue stream coming in as a result of that recycling operation.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's called a license, and it is a license the way we set it up, I don't see it as quite the same as this proposal as it stands today.
All right, thank you. I guess I'm not comfortable, if I were a member of the rowing club, to invest $700,000 and decide that we have 3 new commissioners next year, and they say, well, this stinks, we're not going to renew it. Well, I mean, that doesn't work. I mean, that's just not business possible. So I think that has to be worked out in this permit, a time frame that's reasonable to allow this firm, this group, to raise the money, and they're probably going to take ownership of it, and then maybe even have some way of renewing it, the license. I think in terms of joint ventures, I have another concern, and that is the dock. Even though you're a nonprofit, if you have a dock, you have tremendous liability. People falling off of it, becoming quadriplegic, parties at night, blah, blah, blah. And I think there's some arrangement should be made with the city to have part control of that, because that could go under the city's general liability policy rather than burden you with a huge liability for the dock. Let's see what else I wrote down. Excuse me. I like, other than that, the questions, I'm still not totally comfortable with the parking. I think if this were a store, you wouldn't get it built unless you had parking. And I think you're going to need parking, and that's a real concern I have. You can walk from the city parking lot down by the ore dock, but I don't think if you can row, you can walk probably, or ride a car. But I think that's kind of a weak link in this. And just to comment on, I want to appreciate the efforts of the Harbor Advisory Committee, the Parks and Rec, and the Planning Commission for their recommendations that the city own this. But in fairness to them, they don't have the overall responsibility of the city continuing taking on properties that we then have to maintain. And as Commissioner Campbell Tom Benzie mentioned, we are facing some very significant budget problems. It would be best, I think, not to have the city own it and have you own it, under the understanding that you own it with a license or lease or whatever that you can live with. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coyne. Commissioner Stonehouse.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, and thank you all very much for coming and speaking with us. It is an absolutely tremendous project, and I was really very pleased to hear your different takes on the different pieces of it that all have to come together. I'm certainly very supportive of it, very supportive of the site that's been selected. And I think somebody mentioned, I think it was Darrell, about putting another crown in Marquette's, or another jewel in Marquette's crown, and indeed I think that is what this will be. I like the idea that it's being done at no cost to the city. I think that's critical. And I certainly like the idea that it gives an opportunity for the city to partner with groups like the Rowing Club and keep the city moving forward. I'm somewhat less concerned with parking, and I say that because it's easy to build surface parking lots, and every time you do that, you lose a little piece of your city. And I don't want to see big parking lots, and I just really am more of the belief that people will find the way, and we don't need to provide a parking place for every possible user and every possible vehicle. So over time, maybe we'll do something, maybe we don't, but we'll figure it out as we get there. I was only thinking, too, while Darrell was talking about the history of rowing and taking it back to the Roman galleys, that how interesting it would have been to have been a galley slave and to have the fellow with the big drum said, "Bad news, the captain wants to go water skiing." And hopefully that won't happen, but thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for that historical lesson, Mayor Prince Pro Tem Stonehouse. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Commissioner Ryan.
I guess I would prefer we had some discussion first. I support this. I think, I think any community-generated project is great, and this is certainly one, and I think this will be an asset. I'm a little concerned because Commissioner Coyne made a motion and then added some caveats to it, so I'm not sure what it is we're going to be voting on. So I'd like to clarify some of that. Attorney Keefe, the issue of longevity or the issue of the length of this, you have said that a license typically does not come with a prescribed length or a stated length. So what are you taking away from whatever action we're taking here?
What I took away from was the motion to extend a term if it was doable.
What does that mean?
That's what Commissioner Coyne said. He wanted a longer term. Wasn't addressed. I mean, I think, if I'm understanding, if this is a negotiated process at this point, if this motion passes, but part of the motion I wrote down was to extend the term if it was doable beyond what is normally a license. Isn't that correct, Commissioner Coyne?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think that's a critical piece because I agree with that. I think you can't really do fundraising without having some guarantee that the structure is going to be there for a while or that it's going to continue. And so without knowing specifically what it is that we can do, you've indicated that typically we don't do that. So at some point we're going to have to find out what that means. And I assume the final agreement will come back to this commission for approval?
That is correct. I mean, there hasn't been any negotiation I'm aware of. All I've seen is this agenda item. So I don't know what the terms might look like. But it definitely would come back to the commission before anything is finalized.
The comment was also made that this would not affect the public's use of the beach. Can you comment on that? This license, what would it actually provide? Or perhaps Chief Angeli wants to comment.
Well, I could just say generally licenses are non-exclusive versus a lease which is an exclusive possession of property. A license is generally non-exclusive, so it would have to be open to the public. But again, all I know is what this agenda supplement said. I haven't talked to anyone. There hasn't been any negotiation that I'm aware of as to how this is supposed to look. I don't even know where this piece of property is. I know it's on the beach, but I don't know where.
So you're saying with a license, their building would have to be open to the public?
Typically, a license is open, it's non-possessory, and it's use, but again, those are things that we may have to look at as we go through the process of negotiating some kind of an agreement.
Well, just so you have my sense, I think it's a good project, and I think I'd like to see it go forward. I think it's important that the public beach continue to be available to people. But, you know, I don't know if somebody, if they build a building, can be required to make it available to just anybody who wants to show up at the building. And that seems like a difficult way to run something. So
Well, there's all kinds of
it seems to me
ways.
there are a lot of irons here that have to be
Correct.
ironed out.
Yeah, I suppose the cleanest way that we all think of is you sell a piece of property and they can do whatever they want with
Right.
it, but that's not what's before us. It's a license versus a lease versus a sale of real estate. And I suppose there's a lot of stuff in between that could be put into the mix.
And maybe just a comment from Chief Angeli on why we decided to go in this direction, even though the Planning Commission had a different point of view. Or maybe Dennis wants to, whoever.
Well, yeah, I think I could defer to Dennis in, in some regard, but the bottom line is that we have a standing practice or policy that we try not to take on any more responsibility or long-term debt as a city. And when the committees supported the city building it, it went against that thought process. And so when we put our heads together, we just thought that as representatives of the city and the financial aspect of it, that the lease was the best way to go, relieving the city of any financial legacy costs and things of that nature. And just to comment on the use of the building, I don't know if it's proper or not, but I would strongly support that some of it be secured because I agree with the comment that there needs to be a locked-in area. If you're going to store boats in something, any kind of valuable property, some type of lease should have, or license should have, the ability to secure part of that building, because otherwise it's just going to be a mess as far as people coming and going. So does
Just
that
one-
answer your question?
Yeah. And just one, Commissioner Coyne also raised the point of who's going to own a dock. And of course, if the city's going to own a dock, then it kind of changes the complexion of the entire project, because the city would be taking on a new facility in conjunction with this project. I just want to say again, I'm all in favor of this project. I just think there are a lot of loose ends here that are going to have to be tightened up so we know for certain. And I hope they're done in such a way that it really makes the project work, because I think they need, they need to be able to guarantee donors that this is going to be there for some period of time, and that it, can be maintained and can be well managed. But I think we also want to ensure the public that this does not preclude them from using the beach area around it and affect their access to the beach. So anyway, leave it at that.
Commissioner Campana?
I too am in favor of this action by the rowing group. I think they need a boathouse. The boathouse will give them much more credibility. They play a big part in the community. In the few years that they've been here, they've grown in membership. They do a lot for the community, for the youth, for the disabled. I think it's all going to be good. I think this is what the city wants. The one question I don't have is, or the answer is, definitely it's going to be not city-owned. The ownership will be upon them, correct? And you need to know the term. How many years? We don't have that yet. I would think you'd want a lengthy term. And I think the city does not want to own the building. It would be your responsibility. If that's the case, to me, it's all the better. But, they got a lot of people here that do a lot of good things, and, we really should push it through. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Campana. Anyone else? Commissioner Reynolds first.
Just a few things. I wanted to thank you guys for coming out again, expressing your opinions about the boathouse. You made me actually want to row, so I became interested. But I just have a question for, could be the president, whomever, just out of curiosity for myself. As far as additional space that you discussed, it might have been in my packet and I just might have missed the number, but you guys are going to have your own boats, store them there, but you were discussing additional space for public to possibly store there. How, numbers-wise, how many would that?
Well, I think it would be
Yes.
great if we could work out something with the city to get some public input on how much space is needed, how many people do want that opportunity to store their boats down by the water. If there's a way for the city to get that input, then we could address that. Our intent was just to build, the building footprint and what you saw on the plans and leave the rest as in natural state beyond what we replant for buffer purposes. But we're open to outdoor storage and some indoor storage that are rentable.
That was all. Thank you.
Commissioner Coyne?
Well, I want to defend myself a little bit why I made the motion and all the caveats. I made the motion, I might as well have made the motion, we instruct the lawyer to negotiate with these guys, period, the end. But what I added on there, and other people have suggested, that you are getting our ideas as to what you're going to be negotiating about. And I think I'm still personally not sold on lease versus license, and I have a question. Is in ownership, or all three, does any of that affect the ability either of the rowing club or the city to be eligible for grants? And that's a critical thing that you must look at and we must look at, so as not to put you in a huge box at the next meeting to find out, whoa, you can't apply for recreation grants, et cetera.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I think the chief might have a comment on that.
I can answer some of that. As far as the DNR grants, the ones that we traditionally apply for with the city, yes. I mean, only we can do that. But I believe there are other grants available, and I'm maybe not speaking correctly, so I can't answer that part of it. But when it comes to DNR grants, yes, we're the only ones. Yes, I'm sorry. Where the city they only can apply for DNR grants if the city is the owner of the property.
Okay, well, what?
Response from the rowing club?
No.
Okay.
Now, you said if the city is the owner of the property, just because you license something doesn't give up ownership.
Well, I should.
Are you talking about the building or the
yes.
property?
I'm sorry, the building. My mistake.
Well, okay. I'm not totally comfortable with that, so that got to be thrown in the negotiation pit. One other comment I have, and Daryl mentioned this about how rowing clubs often are the centers of communities. Again, going back in history, 30, 40 years ago, there was no yacht club building, and they bought this little dinky way station, and look what that's done to the sailing community. I view the same thing's going to happen with the non-motorized community. When you get this building, it will just mushroom, just like the yacht club for sailing did. It's just amazing. So I think that's a real reason, another reason, a big plus. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coyne. Any other comments? Commissioner Cambenzi?
Thanks. I fully support the rowing club. I do have a lot of questions of staff. Public Works has estimated it will cost about $12,000 to $24,000 annually. So would we give up those costs to the group to perform?
Yeah, that's my understanding, that they would maintain everything. We were just asked to estimate maintenance costs if we were to have to take it over.
Maintenance agreement. Again, there's no maintenance agreement being talked about. We didn't do this with the NTN. I think this is critical. What does that look like? Who pays for what?
The proposal is that they maintain it and own it.
I guess.
Well, the way the the staff recommendation reads as a license because with the license structure, the UPRC would be responsible for all maintenance of the building in perpetuity for the length of that license. We merely put these cost estimates in here so that we could inform the commission during their decision-making process.
Okay, I know we've got the pilings, and I think that started off as the site that this group really wanted. Where are we at with that, or I know at one time we were going to move forward and get that going, and it could be cost, but is there anything else?
There's a bond out on the pilings with the state of Michigan under a previously executed state bottomlands agreement. At this point in time, we are basically pending future development at the Founders Landing. Due to that development at Founders Landing, the state has graciously granted us some more time on those bonds. If you'll recall, their projected plans that were approved in Act 381 Brownfield plan call for those pilings to be reused as a marina. And that's currently what we have presented to the state. And like I said, they're graciously giving us some time on that.
Do we know how much time or?
As long as development is considered to be imminent on that parcel of property, the state has been working with us.
Okay. That's awesome news. Would that provide more parking in terms of a drop-off site or?
I can't recall without looking at the Act 381 Brownfield plan for the property whether or not that marina was entirely private or a combination of public and private. So anything that I'd say I'd be embellishing at this time, but I'd be happy to get back to you.
Would it include ADA accessibility, or could it include as part of the pier?
Anything that's constructed in this day and age is required to meet American with Disability Act requirements, with the exception of certain building retrofits that can prove to get themselves design exceptions.
Okay. One of the things that I read that really hit home for me on this from staff was the contamination. Anything that gets dug up has to stay on the property?
That's generally a good rule of thumb when you're dealing with a former industrial site like that. Most certainly, there was a Phase 1 baseline environmental assessment that was done when the city purchased that property. We will provide that to the UPRC so that they can use it at their discretion and their interpretation when they move forward with the property.
I guess one thing, going back to Commissioner Coyne's comments with the dock, I mean, is that a considerable liability if it's not owned by us? Or
I'd want to have to take a look at that. I mean, we're talking about a dock out into the bottomlands, and it's the first time I've heard that thought. But it's something we could certainly look at as to whether or not it's something that we need to be concerned about as a city, versus having them operate this dock system, whatever it might be. But we can look at that.
Okay. I guess my feeling is I 100% support the rowing club. I don't support the location for one reason, that I think this needs to stay public 100%. And I think this is a huge cost for you to take on. I think it's a huge cost with the maintenance for years to come. I was uncomfortable with the NTN for a similar reason. I think that it's a great cause, it's a great thing, but I'm not sold on the location. I think it could be more of a public use if there was better access and parking. And I don't think you should have to bear the full cost of putting up a structure to do what you love to do. I would love to see your boathouse be close to this dock. I would love to see us go ahead with that. And I would love to see us take that route for a number of reasons. I guess that I've just asked, and I've asked of staff, being careful to preserve that parcel of land that we said we were going to preserve to the community, but find a way to help you pay for what you want to do, store your boat safely, in a better location that I think you wanted to begin with. And I don't know if anyone from your group could speak to that, but I think that was the original location that you wanted. I don't know, Kelly, if you can talk about that, but
we want to partner with the city. We're willing to look at what the city feels is good for our organization and for the city as well. We've been happy on the beach where we are. We'll be happy on this site. If that's where we can go, we'll make it work. And if I could just correct our name, UPCRC, because you're taking out community from our name, and that's not a good thing, because that's what we're all about. So.
And just a quick question: how long do you think I mean, 600,000 is an estimate, but how long do you think it might take you?
Defer to our funding expert here.
I'd say, yeah, it'd be a 3-year capital campaign is how we had envisioned it. It partly depends as to the question somebody asked about grant funding. It does matter who owns the building as to what types of grants you can go for. And but we were looking at a maximum 3-year capital campaign.
Okay, and Dennis, I guess I'm going to lean on you again. Is there any chance in the next 3 years we could have movement on the pilings or that property?
I guess it's really unclear. I can't give you a definitive answer on that. Again, it really depends on the progress at Founders Landing and what occurs there. That really becomes the driver, more or less, for what happens with those pilings.
To the best of my knowledge, the piling area was never a preferred site for the rowing club. There were those who hoped that it could be used that way. The nature of rowing shells is that they rise about 8 inches off the water. They need to be launched from a dock that is movable. You can't launch in waves. So you have to have calm water, you have to have a floating pier. And we looked at the area around the pilings, and frankly, I don't see any way without a very elaborate ramping system that you get a 60-foot boat safely down to the water and launch it and retrieve it. The pilings are also out in the harbor, so unless a considerable breakwall got constructed, which I don't see happening any time in my lifetime, it's just not a feasible site.
Campana?
Question for Kelly. Just one question. If you have ownership, your club has the ownership of the building, are you still able to get grants continually?
We are still able to get grants, just not DNR recreation grants.
Okay. Will that harm you in any way? I mean, you'll still be able to
I
gather
have full
camping?
belief in my professional funding development people to say we can still do this.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Couple things, if I can. Discussion of private docks. There's at least 5 private docks in the Lower Harbor. We have the association dock, we have the fish dock, we have the yacht club dock, we have the boardwalk, which you could consider a dock as it runs alongside of the water. We also have, of course, and I'm missing one here, Dockside Marine, which operates a private dock. So the idea of a private dock being prohibitively expensive or being something difficult and huge insurance monies on it, I think is probably not true. I would point out, too, that the club has made the offer to take care of all maintenance on the site, all maintenance connected with the building. So the city has no liability in terms of that maintenance as we would negotiate an agreement. And lastly, all we're doing tonight is empowering the city attorney city management, to negotiate a lease agreement or a license agreement with the rowing club. And that will come back here, and we will parse it apart, and we will approve it or we will disapprove it. We're not trying to negotiate what that lease would be tonight. And I think we probably just ought to take a step back and let the attorney do his job and come back to us then with a relevant document that will outline all of the particulars that we may have interest in. Thank you.
Commissioner Ryan?
Well, we may not be trying to negotiate a lease tonight, but we did come here with a specific plan, which was agreed to by the rowing club, and that is that they would build this, they would take care of it, and that's something that I'm willing to support. And I don't think there's a majority here who are willing to build this building for the rowing club. You know, I think we like the plan that's been put forth, and we're kind of going in this big circle now where, you know, should they own it? Should we own it? How do they get grants? You know, that's all been discussed already. And you know, we're in danger of just unwinding this whole project with where we're going here. I think the basic plan that was put forth tonight, the recommendation from city staff that the rowing club would build the building, would raise the money, and would maintain it, and the city would provide a place for them to do it, is basically what we're being asked to approve tonight. And I'm willing to vote yes on that. So.
And Benzie?
That part I'm willing to vote yes on. Where it's located, I guess I'm not sold on it. And that's all I want to say. That's all I wanted to say to the people here, is that from staff comments, from what we've designated that area, I'm not sold on the location. I'm totally sold on a boathouse, a launch site. But I do worry this is a huge investment for you to take on. Not that you can't do it. You know, but I look at our soccer fields, I look at the huge pouring of support financially that came out for that, and what it's costing us now, the city, to keep up with it in a lot of ways, even if it's just maintaining the gravel parking lot that goes in there. There are a lot of costs. And so by me not supporting this tonight, it's not that I don't support your group or this project. It's just the location, where it's at. And I think the city could help out if it was closer to the pier, because I would love to see that project go forward too. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioners? I guess I've got a few comments. I'm one of those people who really enjoy seeing the shells go across the lower harbor. I think that adds a lot to our city. I think this is a great project. Anytime you get a private-public partnership, we get a better product. We get more buy into it, more ownership. And you know, the 12 to 24,000, I don't think it's going to cost them anywhere near the 12 to 24,000 to maintain the structure, simply because they don't pay their maintainers. They have volunteers. Certainly, they're going to have craftsmen at times do things. And I like the idea of this facility on the waterfront, because it is going to enhance the public access waterfront. You're going to have the roof that, you know, at lunch, if you want to go down there and sit down and have lunch, you can do it. If there's a reception, I'm sure at some point you can rent the roof for a public reception. I certainly want to see in the license agreement that we have a long-term irrevocable license for some point, to give them something they can take back to their granting agencies or foundations and say, well, hey, you know, we've got this guarantee for a certain amount of time. And in the license, we certainly need, as Dr. Coyne says, guaranteed access to the public, so that people know they can use the roof. Obviously, you have to secure the shells and the boats inside the house. That can't be open to the public at all times. But everything else on that site can be open to the public, and we need to have that in the license. So 10 years from now, when all of us with good ideas are gone, or 15 years, and there's a new set here or a new set there, and their club says, well, gee, we put this up, we maintain it, why do we have to let the public in? We want the public to be in, and I think the club wants it, and I suspect that. I don't mean to say that you're going to have people who don't agree with that, but we want to assure that that's not going to happen. But I think it's a great thing for this city, And I think the attorney has kind of a sense of what we need, and I'm sure the rowing club can express what their needs are, and we can come to an agreement that is usable by all. I like the site. The site where they are now is a great site, and it'd be a great spot for a boathouse. Perhaps it's a greater spot for something else, and that we don't know yet. And so this site is going to certainly be improved as a result of it. Although I think, someone made a point about we'll lose the beach there, the unfettered beach, and yes, we will lose that. But I think in return we'll receive as was mentioned, another jewel for our crown. So I'm certainly going to support this. Are there any other last comments before I call the question? Commissioner Cambenzi?
Sorry, just one more question. There was something about moving the sidewalk. Would we have, or the bike path or something?
The plans that were presented include restrooms.
Okay.
And in order to facilitate utilities, the water will have to be brought from the west side of Lakeshore Boulevard, which will include opening up the street and the bike path. And in addition, the sanitary sewer is going to require a pump to go up to the main.
And all this, there would be no cost to the city? Or have we not determined that?
Yeah, that's subject to negotiation. Of course, according to city charter, that has to be budgeted in the capital improvements plan as well. So, again, that's something that would be addressed, I would imagine, during the negotiation phase.
Any other last comments? Okay, hearing none, it's been moved by Commissioner Coyne, seconded by Commissioner Stonehouse, to go along with the recommendation with the addition of a longer-term license and access, assured access to the public, direct the attorney to prepare the license. Any questions on the motion, what we're voting on? Seeing none, all in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed say no.
No.
The motion is approved, 6-1. Okay, we will now go on to could someone retrieve the city manager? The next item is a promotional fund budget adjustment. City clerk, could you proceed with the background item on the agenda or explanation on this, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Background, the City of Marquette Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Finance, Division 3, Public Relations, Section 2, 521 to 523, provides a mechanism for community interest to submit requests for funding to be incorporated with the annual city budget process for consideration by the City Commission. This past budget year, the applications were received in December 2012 for the fiscal year 13-14 budget. Funding is defined as fee waivers and/or in-kind services provided by the city and/or cash payments. For the current budget, applications were accepted in December 2012 for a 12-month fiscal year. To accommodate this unusual fiscal year, a second application period was offered to community interests whose events occur between July 1 and September 30, 2014. Applications were due December 31, 2013. The city received 14 applications, totaling $42,769. Staff evaluated the applications based on merit to benefit tourism, economic development, or other community development objectives. It was determined that all applications qualified for funding under the intent of the ordinance. All fee and in-kind requests are recommended for consideration. Cash requests are either prorated per historical allocations or not recommended due to intended use of the funds. Staff recommends the following be funded: amending fiscal year 2014 promotional fund and associated funds. Fund requested, cash $5,250. Fees in kind $14,860. Fees $14,860. In kind $7,820. Total cost $27,930. Further applicant information with corresponding departmental fund detail is attached. Fiscal effect, the promotional fund and associated funds will be adjusted by $27,930 for fiscal year 2013-14. Recommendation, approve the funding of prioritized community events totaling $27,930, amending fiscal year 2013-14 budget. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Okay, Commissioners, thank you, City Clerk. What is your pleasure with this item? Someone better make motion or I will. Commissioner Coyne.
I move we approve the funding of prioritized community events totaling $27,000, amending fiscal year 2013/14 budget.
There's support. Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse.
Stone.
Thank you. You'll second it, excuse me. Commissioner Coyne, any further discussion?
No.
Commissioner Stonehouse, any further discussion?
None.
I just have one comment. When I was looking at this, I was struck by the amount of money, but I realized that typically on our transition budget of 1.25 years, we just increase things by 1/4, but the promo budget, we're actually having 2 budgets, because all the promotions typically happen this summer. They happened last summer at the start of the fiscal year. They'll happen again this summer at the end of the fiscal year, with the exception of the 1/4 allotments to the band and the other ones. But I think this is a good thing, and I can kind of see why we weren't able to foresee this at the onset of our extended budget. So, any further comments by any commissioners? Commissioner Cambenzi?
Just a question for staff, probably Carl, if he's the most knowledgeable on this, but it says it's determined that all applicants qualified for funding. Then how do we narrow it down? How does staff choose, I guess, which ones?
Well, as we've indicated, all 14 of the applicants did qualify for some funding. In terms of the in-kind and the fees, all of those requests were recommended for tonight's commission's consideration. In terms of the cash allocations to these, we looked at it that each one of the applicants will have another opportunity to request additional funds. Those applications are due at the end of this month. The commission will consider that during the budget hearings for the next fiscal year. So the balance of the year, what we're looking for is, or what we'll be asking for from them, is to ask what they'll need for a full year. This is only for a quarter or 3 months. And so what we did is we prorated it for the 3 months, and that's what we felt was a fair request to the commission.
Commissioner Ryan?
Well, I guess that raises a question in my mind. What was the last thing you said? You prorated it based on?
Well, I've indicated that each one of these applicants will have another opportunity to make a request. Those applications are due at the end of this month due to the new fiscal year. And then the commission will have an opportunity to evaluate all of those applications during the budget hearing. And so when we looked at what the cash requests were, we prorated as to what they received last year for a full year, and that's what we brought forward for the commission to consider tonight.
What about the fees and in-kind services?
The fees and in-kind services, we recommended a full, we recommended all of the fees and in-kinds that they requested. We brought those forward for consideration from the commission.
I was going kind of on what the mayor said, that a lot of the events are happening at a certain period. That's why they would need the full amount.
Right. All of the events that you see on the list, and you were afforded the background which showed you all of the events. All of the events, we're recommending the fees and in-kind services be placed in the promotional fund.
Just one other comment. I found it almost impossible to read the sheet in our packet. Even though I printed it off and did everything I could with it, but part of it's the headings are covered by something dark, and the rest of it is so small, it's very difficult. So I'm going to kind of half take your word that this is right.
Maybe that was the intent. I don't know. It's just one of the foibles of computers, I guess. Any other questions? Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. It's been moved by Commissioner Coyne, supported by Mayor Pro Tem seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse, to make the promotional fund budget adjustment. All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed say no. The motion is passed unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the Michigan Recreation Passport Grant Program grant application. City Clerk, would you read the background, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Background. At the July 29, 2013 meeting, the City Commission unanimously approved the Land Use Action Plan for Tourist Park and directed it be sent to the state for record. Establishing family pods, one at each of the shower facilities, is cited as high implementation priority. The proposed improvement will address accessibility of existing toilet/shower facilities. This would not only better serve the public, but will also address issues of ADA compliance. The cost for the family pods is estimated at $60,000. Staff has researched grant options that may offset the city's capital expense. The Michigan Recreation Passport Program Passport grant is the funding source that is best suited for this project. City staff is currently working on the passport application. If successful, the grant will fund 75% or $45,000. Local match will require the city to contribute 25% or $15,000. The local match may be either in-kind or cash contribution. Any local match would require support from the Tourist Park Fund. The application process requires the City Commission approve a resolution of commitment. The final application is due April 1, 2014 to meet this year's grant cycle. Fiscal effect, the passport grant would require a 25% match or $15,000, which could include in-kind or cash. The Tourist Park Fund will be required to provide any cash match. Recommendation, adopt a resolution of commitment and support for an application for a Michigan Recreation Passport Program grant to construct 2 family pods at Tourist Park Campground and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the resolution. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, what is your pleasure with this item? Commissioner Ryan?
I move we adopt a resolution of commitment and support an application for a Michigan Recreation Passport Program grant to construct 2 family pods at Tourist Park Campground and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the resolution.
Is there a second? Commissioner Campana?
Second it.
Thank you. Anything further, Commissioner Ryan?
I think this is a good opportunity. You know, we've identified a lot of things we'd like to do at Tourist Park, and this allows us to begin maybe chipping away at that in one way, and primarily looking to finance most of it through a grant opportunity.
Commissioner Campana, any further comments?
Support it because I think it'll make Tourist Park an even nicer place. So it's a good thing. Thank you.
Any other commissioners have a comment, question? Commissioner Coyne?
In the plans, I notice there is a unisex toilet and shower pod, which is even more advanced for ADA and for for LGBT folks, particularly transgender people. They don't have a man or a woman's. This is a unisex, which is unusual to have in a plan. So I commend them for doing that.
Any other commissioners have a comment? Commissioner Cambenzi?
Just a quick comment. I'd just like to thank staff for going out and certainly looking at all the grant possibilities to relieve a lot of the general fund money or the fee money we capture to do these things. So thank you.
Any other comments? I would echo Commissioner Cambenzi's comment that we're going to get three for one if we're successful, and I guess we can't beat that. And it certainly will stretch our capital dollars. Any other further comments, questions? Seeing none, it has been moved by Commissioner Ryan, seconded by Commissioner Campana, to approve the grant application and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign the application or something on behalf of the city. All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed say no. The ayes have it unanimously. That is the end of our business agenda. We're now at the point of comments from the commission. We will start with Commissioner Cambenzi this evening.
Okay, I just want to start off with the Presque Isle sign. Thank Christine and Sherry and also April for their hard work on that. All the commissioners that went up to the Keweenaw Bay tribe, and also just to promote their book that they're putting out. I think this was a fantastic project. I would urge the community to support them by buying a book if they can, with the proceeds that go towards the Native American arts. And I guess I would like to thank April and certainly the NMU Center for Native American Studies for educating us on the sharing of the land here and recognizing the Anishinaabe culture. I think that's fantastic. I think it's long overdue, so I'd like to thank them. The Boys and Girls State, Patty Stevens, I'd like to thank her for coming to talk to us. I would hope it's something the mayor would consider. If we're possible to be a fiscal agent, this directly relates to our future of who may want to sit up here. So I think it's a great thing, and I'm really glad Patty came forward to ask if this is a possibility. I'd also like to thank Mike Beck for his comments, and just to reassure him that safety is a huge part of what the subcommittee is looking at with the roads and funding. And also, just to reiterate again that I do support the rowing club. Whenever there's a voting situation, when you don't vote in favor of it, you hope that that group walks out of here knowing that it's not because you don't support what they do and who they are, but simply because you're looking for the best solution. And sometimes I think we get tied up and we want it now, and we don't look at what could be done in the interim while we're figuring out the best possible solution. So I guess there's a few of them left in the crowd here, and I'd just like to thank them. It's an awesome club you have, and I'm glad you're part of Marquette. I look forward to seeing what's brought forward, so thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I got to run the meeting here. Commissioner Campana.
I too would like to just commend the Native American group for, the work on the sign and the work on their booklet here. I've heard nothing but positive comments about the sign, and I hate to say this, but I got to get out there to see it. Just haven't been there. But the comments have all been very positive. The other item is just, I'm glad that we got this conversation going on the community rowing club. I think it's going to happen. I think they're well organized. It shouldn't be a problem. I hope we can get this done. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Campana. Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse.
Just a couple of quick things. Again, I'd like to thank Commissioner Compensi for speaking on behalf of the subcommittee, for all of us that working hard, trying to get there. Hopefully we will do that soon. Long trail, frustrating trail, lots of little eddies and dead ends you come back from, and you try it again. So I think we have every hope of being able to present to the commission a good recommendation in the near term. Certainly we're working in that direction. I would ask all of us that deal with projects of any kind and policy decisions of any kind to think about, and I don't remember who said it, but it certainly is very true, is that perfection is the enemy of the possible. And that the more we try to do something perfectly, we lose the opportunity to get it done, and get it done to a reasonable level. And I think as a commission, we often deal with that. We often look for the best possible thing, and we can't afford to do that always, because we have to be able to realize what is possible, what can we achieve. We're going to get that done. We're going to move on to the next issue. So again, just as we move through life, as we move through the projects that we face all the time, both in public discourse and certainly at home too, just remember, perfection can be the enemy of the possible. And we certainly have a lot of enemies coming up. And we think of Presque Isle Power Plant and the issue, the city's biggest taxpayer, that's $1.5 million gone. Marquette General Hospital and where they go and what they do, the whole issue with Lundin mine haul trucks, the revenue sharing that is literally being taken out from under cities and counties and villages throughout the state of Michigan. I think in the last 10 years, we've lost $6 billion in revenue share money that the governor, different administrations, Republican Republican, Democrat, doesn't make any difference. They all have sticky fingers and are willing to take our money. And certainly the current freeze emergency is one that I think we lose track of because we're burning in the fund reserve, we're burning into overtime, we're doing the things we need to do to service our citizens, and all of that becomes very, very expensive. So these are huge issues we're facing, and we're not going to solve them overnight or solve them immediately, but we will take them one at a time and do the best we can. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Commissioner Stonehouse. Commissioner Reynolds.
A couple things. I wanted to say congratulations to the girls' recreational hockey team. They became state champs in Alpena yesterday, and I have an opportunity to know one of those very little girls very well, and I'm very proud of them. Also, NMU women's basketball won their galactic title. GLIAC title for the first time since 2000. The other thing I wanted to say is that I believe that the rowing club does have the ability to raise those funds. And I'm just, from a personal note, I had Sally Davis, the vice president, as my grant writing teacher at NMU, and from her class, I had the opportunity to write some grants, and I was successful in some of those. So I believe that you guys will have great successes in that. And that is all.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioner Ryan.
Just want to clarify, first of all, that when Commissioner Stonehouse says the governor took $6 billion in revenue sharing, it wasn't from the city of Marquette. He didn't mention this was the state of Michigan over a long period of time, because if we had $6 billion once, we'd be set for a long time. No question about that. Although, and it's been inferred tonight, but today we had the day we've been waiting for, the first really nice day. The sun is shining, the water is running the street. It's also running in the city commission chambers. And we didn't really tell you that. We kind of inferred it, but it's been dripping from the ceiling. So I guess you take the good with the bad. What else do you do? But that's part of that $6 billion we lost, I guess. I'm not sure. I went to Boise State. That was many years ago. Well, actually, that was many, many, many years ago. But I think this, I'm not sure the manager was here when Patty Stevens made her presentation. I think he may have been trying to get the roof fixed, but I'm not sure. But in case he didn't, I think he would be the best person to speak with, at least to get the process going, to see if there is some way the city could work with the American Legion on that project. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Coyne.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank the two folks who made some public comments for sticking around so they could get some answers rather than saying things and then leaving. And, it's important that you hear our response. And I agree. I think the city manager is the appropriate first person for you to speak to. And Mr. Beck, I think Lundin is very aware of the issues of safety, and I think that's probably going to be a major thing to be talking about tomorrow. So appreciate your insight, and you're right on with that. The following Fred's scenario of all the problems, I'll just point out there's 3 city commissioners, I think 3 or 4 school board members. Is it 4? 4 school board members, 2 Board of Light and Power positions, and 3 county commissioners. And given all those problems, we need some good people in this community to step up and serve. So the deadline is April 22nd, I believe, for all of them. And please get thinking and ask your friends who care and want to do this. And not just one issue, but we've got tons of issues to deal with. So I would hope that people would step up. I also would like to thank Sarah Cambenzi for a very, very good and accurate report, and appreciate that. And one final thing, many of us have friends who have no water, and I just continue to hear people, when you get up in the morning and you turn on no water, it's very distressing, and you want it fixed right now, and you call up and you're treated very courteously. I think they understand now when you call that there's either 10 or 30 people ahead of you with no water, and they're very helpful in terms of letting you know when they're coming, and they stay there till the water is on. They've just done a great job, and they're working 12-hour shifts, and up until today, miserable conditions outside, and we just need to thank them greatly. They've done a great, great job. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coyne. I just kind of want to continue on the vein of what you were saying. I think we owe a lot to our public works crews. We have 4 crews out there that are thawing out frozen water lines to people's houses, and then going along and fixing mains that freeze up. And we've had 425 freeze ups. We've got 1,450 people who are on let run. So that means a lot more water is coming through our water plant, and a lot more water is going into our sewage plant. So it's a winter that is giving us a lot of challenges, and these crews have been, as Commissioner Coyne mentioned, has been working 12 hours a day. We've been staffing 7 days a week. I think some get a day off once in a while, but they've been few and far between, and they've been doing this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so we owe them a real debt of gratitude, and certainly the people. I've been fortunate. I haven't had a freeze-up. My neighbor did have a sewer freeze-up, so it's been close to home, but fortunately nothing has happened. But we will get to the people as quickly as we can, and our crews are doing the best they can. In fact, they're doing a yeoman's effort, and I appreciate that. And I'd make one last comment on Mrs. Stevens' grant. We do have a meeting on the 31st of this month, so I assume that if we were to approve it at that point, it would be in time for you to get in the grant application. Would that be correct? Yes.
I believe the grant is due submitted by the 1st.
Yeah, so you would be safe, and I think if you talk to the city manager, he can tell you what kind of timelines we would need to get the information into us, get it on our agenda, probably a week or a week and a half before that period. And
I think as far as my understanding here, what I'm saying is
yeah, good. Yeah, could you come to I'm sorry, it's my error. That way, all the public can hear you, not just the people in this room. That's my error. I apologize.
Yeah, when and I'm not certain that a 501c19 couldn't be necessarily an exception to this, but I was unable to get that answered today.
Okay.
So anyways, the fiscal agent part of it, I guess, basically, it's somebody to receive the money that's a 501c3 and then forward it to the program, basically is all that it entails, at least in my thought of it. So, thank you.
That's all I have. Comments from the city manager?
Thank you, Your Honor. First, thank you for your leadership this evening. I know that it had some, even though I wasn't here, I know there must have been some pretty challenging deliberations, just because I heard some of the comments from the public and from the board. I want to thank also your leadership in recognizing the financial impact of what this winter is doing. Our first priority is to make sure that we're caring for the health and welfare of our residents. And what that means is exactly what you said. We have a lot of people out on the front line who've literally been standing out there 24/7 for months, taking the worst weather in recorded history and making sure that people still have water coming into their homes, that their sewers are working, and you can drive just about any direction and see the consequences when you aren't able to provide that level of care and that quality of life. And so we have a lot of really tired folks out there, and that they hear that affirmation from their elected leaders, I know, is crucially important to their morale, and I really just want to say thank you for that. We're also recognized this evening, Sergeant Marty Munger from the City Police Department was recognized this month as Marquette County's Law Enforcement of the Year. And as the recipient, of course, that reflects great pride both on Marty and the unit that provides him daily support and leadership there. So I just wanted to thank you again. I know many of you have privately already recognized Marty and passed that word, but first things first, the most important job is the duty we have every day to the residents of Marquette, and there's a lot of people out there who are putting in long hours to meet expectation. And finally, I want to tell the rest of the story. So while I was recused, I went up on the roof, and there's 2 inches of standing water up there. And so I'd caution other folks maybe who haven't gotten up and brushed off their roofs or cleaned out their gutters or things like that. If the weather keeps up in this kind of trend, we can expect a lot more of that kind of challenge going forward. And I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Does his award include the dog?
I expect that'll probably be. I know in the pictures we always have Marty and the dogs together.
Okay.
I'll leave that up to the chief to decide how to recognize.
Okay. One last comment. This Wednesday, the Pigs and Heat hockey game will be on. Tickets are $1. It's for a good cause. Certainly, they both forces do a lot to protect us daily, and then when something untoward befalls someone, the Pigs and Heat does chip in and help them out. And so it's a cause you can't lose by supporting. So I would encourage everyone to go to Lakeview Arena on this Wednesday, the 12th, or if not, buy a ticket just to simply support the effort. And with that, we're adjourned.